wanna speak while you're distracted by the levels you dare to climb. A straight shooter with nostalgia I haven't felt in a long while. You make it feel like it's the arcade when we're playing pixel out until the day breaks. We'll keep breaking down, let's hope the next play. Things change, the score is rising as the screen fades. Ain't over when you stay. Now who's that saying they're the pinball wizard? He moves too slow with his grubby little fingers. Keep pressing buttons and see what gets triggered. I'll just smile and watch him reconsider again.
Woo! What's going on? This is The Fight Guy, episode 5, I believe. And I'm your host, Guy Pert. And today I'm going to give a full breakdown of UFC Fight Night Saudi Arabia, starting with the top of the main card, working our way down to the last prelim fight. I have a technical breakdown for every fight on the main card. I got to go back and rewatch them too. For the prelims, I'll just go over the results. Nothing too special in most of the prelim fights. Plus, I only watched those once. So let's just get into it, starting with the most recent fight, the main event. The main event on the main card, Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Imavov. I thought this was a great fight. It did end pretty quick for a top contender 5-round fight. It did end, pretty much right at the beginning of the second round. You see here 30 seconds in. Go ahead and share my screen for you guys. Boom, there it is. About 30 seconds in to the second round, Imavov did get the knockout. It was the reverse Pereira, if you've probably seen some of the clips on Twitter or whatnot. But Israel Adesanya got poked in the eye. He had an opportunity to stop, to recover, but he told the ref that he was good, and then he got uppercutted and went to sleep shortly after that. But starting off the fight, Izzy was coming out of the southpaw stance. Imavov was orthodox. Imavov, he was trying to mix in takedown attempts where he could. Izzy was shaking him off. Different clinches in the first round, but Izzy dictated the pace. For two counter strikers, Izzy won most of the counter fighting exchanges in the first round. He shook off the takedown attempts. He looked great in the first round. His kicks were landing, good body kicks, good calf kicks, that sort of thing. But like I said, shortly into the second round, even Izzy looked like he was just resuming right where he left off. He looked great, and then gets eye poked and goes to sleep shortly after. So it was a great fight. I wish it would have lasted a little bit longer. I think I did have Israel to win this. It was pretty much a coin toss. I did have Imavov for the weeks leading up to the fight. I switched to Adesanya. This happened, so of course. But I had pretty good picks. I only had two fighters that I thought were going to win that lost. Everybody else won, so 9 out of 11, I think. So not bad, but Israel did lose. Sad to see. I'd like to see him fight Brendan Allen next. I think that's a perfect matchup for him. And I think there's some grappling questions to be answered still. Israel's not even a black belt, but he does so good with his distance management that we've never seen it really come into play that much. I think Brendan Allen would be a great fight for Israel next. On his coming off of his first 2-fight losing streak, it's now his a 3-fight losing streak for Israel. We've never seen him. I think Brendan Allen would be a great opponent to dig yourself some positive momentum. Hopefully, put a period at the end of this losing streak and move forward. As for Imavov, it was a big win for him. The future of the middleweight division is almost at a crossroads, I guess, right now with Khamzat and Imavov, both seemingly needing title shots. I think Imavov fights Cal Barallo next. I think that'd be a great fight to give him. He's got to fight one more guy before he fights Khamzat, or the winner of Khamzat, and I think Sean Strickland's going to win. Not to get too far off on a tangent, I think he needs to get one more good contender win under his belt, just because Israel was already on a 2-fight losing streak, and he did get a title shot on a loss. After a loss to Strickland, he got the title shot, which makes no sense, but there's an argument for everything. Nonetheless, I think Barallo's a great fight for Imavov next. After he beats Barallo, if he does, give him Khamzat or Sean Strickland, whoever's holding the belt at that point. We're moving on. This was an interesting fight. Sharad Magomedov against Michael Venom Page. I think I had this one to go to Shara too. So I had this fight wrong. I had 3 wrong, not 2. I had 3 wrong. This was my second one that I had wrong. I thought Shara was going to win. I bought in on the hype. It was Peyton Talbot last week, and now it's Shara Magomedov this week. I wouldn't say that he was entirely fraud checked. I mean, MVP stance is just way too much for a guy with no peripheral vision. Shara's got one eye, and Michael Venom Page, he kind of comes out there in a sideways stance, and it's really hard to see if you have no peripheral vision. But he darts forward and back pretty aggressively. He's really swift with his movements. Shara could not develop a rhythm against MVP's style with all of his feints and shiftiness. They looked like an autistic couple at the high school dance, really, most of the fight, just trying to, predict the next guy's movement and what they're going to do next. I thought Michael Venom Page won all 3 rounds. He had a nice combo at the end of round 1. He was winning more exchanges. He was going his pace to end the rounds. He had a sweet spinning kick, like a Max Holloway style at the end of round 1. But yeah, Michael Venom Page, he looked great all 3 rounds. Shara could not, there was a couple things Shara did wrong here. First off, I'm not sure what his corner was saying. I couldn't hear his corner when I was watching the fights, but I'm not sure if his corner was giving him good advice. This is something that I'm probably going to talk about a lot. I think it's a big deal, especially in the fight game, because fighting's looked at as such an individualistic sport, and like you're in there on your own. You're not fighting with a team. That's you're right and you're wrong. You are in there by yourself, but you do have a team around you. You got your grappling coach, your striking coach, your guys that you trust. When you're in situations to take their advice. So I don't know what they were telling him in between rounds, but it didn't look like he was making any adjustments at all. It looked like he was just trying to implement a game plan that got shot round 1 and just had no shot of working the next 2 rounds to follow. I think Shara was just trying to land a lucky knockout punch. He was putting some steam behind some of his strikes in the later rounds. Wasn't enough. Michael Venom Page got the win. What's next for MVP? This is middleweight. I'd like to see him fight Paulo Costa next would be great, I guess. I'd like to see how Paulo handles his striking style. Somebody with peripheral vision and, who seems to be in pretty good health. I'd like to see him fight Costa next. As for Shara Magomedov, maybe Michael Pereira would be good. A good fight next. Those would be great fights for both these guys next. Michael Venom Page, great win in Abu Dhabi. I believe that puts him at number 14 or 15 in the middleweight division. Moving on. Sergey Pavlovich against Rosenstruck. I forgot this guy's first name. He's been in the UFC for a little while now. But nonetheless, Sergey, he looked like he was more ahead on their feet. This was a snooze fest. It was a sleep fest, except neither of these guys went to sleep. Just anybody watching the fight, it was pretty boring. I did have all 3 rounds going to Sergey, but, round 3 looked the same as round 2, which was copied and pasted from round 1. Sergey, a little bit more ahead on his feet, essentially. Rosenstruck gets knocked down, trips, falls backwards. Sergey gets control, top position, deals a little bit of damage, enough to not get separated, but nothing to end the fight, and it's like that for 3 rounds. So Sergey, boring, unanimous decision, but well-deserved. He won every single round, won the striking, and won the grappling. Had, as you can see, 6 minutes of control time here. But look at the total strikes, 145 to Rosenstruck's 23. So we had Sergey winning this, and he absolutely dominated. We thought I'd maybe see a knockout, but beggars cannot be choosers. We move on. We're moving on to Said Nurmagomedov and Vinicius Oliveira. This was a great fight. I want to say this was the best fight on the main card. Yeah, I enjoyed this one more than any other fight on the main card. Oliveira pressured initially just to start off right when the fight began. He was pressuring initially. Said, he landed a hard shot, sprung a back kick. Also like Max Holloway's, spinning back kick. But yeah, Said hurt Oliveira with about 1.5 minutes left of the first round, but ends up in the top position. I thought initially he had hurt Oliveira, but they actually replayed it and it looked like a clash of heads. Nonetheless, Saeed pressured him after he thought he knocked him down or sensed that he was hurt after the clash of heads, whatever happened there. Saeed pressured him a little bit, over-pressured a bit too much, and he ends up giving up control to Oliveira on the ground. Yeah, but both of these guys look super durable throughout the fight. In round two, I'd say Oliveira won round two and round three. He lost the first round. But at the end of round two, both these guys are pretty gassed. You could see it. It's visible. But I think that it affects Saeed's game plan a lot more than Oliveira because he's kind of just like a Wreck-It Ralph with the chin. He's just going to go in there and start swinging. Saw a lot of flying knees, spinning elbows, spinning punches, wild kicks, all kinds of crazy striking attempts. But this one goes to Oliveira in this split decision. No, it was unanimous decision. Yeah. He won round two and round three. The judges saw it the same way, I believe. As for who these guys should fight next, I'd like to see Oliveira take on a ranked guy. Like I think Jose Aldo would be perfect. Both Brazilians. You could do the fight in Brazil later this year, before June. And Nurmagomedov, I want to see him fight Umar Nurmagomedov. Let's create some Dagestani drama. Not realistically. I don't know who this guy fights next. I mean, the bantamweight division's so thick, you can give him some unranked contender, and it will probably be a fireworks for a fight. But I think it would be cool if we let Nurmagomedov's fight off in the bantamweight division. I think that there should only be one ranked Dagestani fighter per weight division. That's just a personal belief, maybe popular belief one day, but not to get too far off the beaten path. Vinicius Oliveira, a nice unanimous decision win. And it was, for me, fight of the night. We move on to Fariz Ziam and Mike Davis. This was, I believe, the only other fight that I got wrong. Yeah, this was the only other fight that I picked wrong for this card. I had Mike Davis winning, and, it was a great fight. I know the scorecard says it was a unanimous decision. It looks a lot more one-sided than it was. Both of these guys had their moments. Sure, Mike didn't win a round, and especially, I think he was kind of giving up by the time the third round had come to fruition. But it was a very interesting fight. Davis, the first thing that you'll see if you watch this fight, 10 seconds into the first round, Davis pulls guard, which immediately I thought, okay, this guy deserves to lose if he's pulling guard. First fight on the main card in Saudi Arabia, and you're pulling guard. What's going on, man? But he was trying to get busy with it. He pulled guard a couple times, but he was active. It's not like he was trying to be. I can't use that word, but he wasn't trying to be a pimple popper. He was moving around. He was pulling guard a few different times, but he was getting outstruck on his feet quite a bit. It started to add up, I think, going into the second round. You could really start to see the contrast between the two. Mike did get mount, but he didn't do... he did get mount at the end of round one. I think there's about a minute left. He didn't do much with it. He tried to set up what looked like was an arm triangle, I think. But Fariz rolled through it. He ended up taking it back momentarily. Then he rolled back through into guard. There was a bit of grappling. My point is, Mike Davis, with the mount, the position, and the control that he got at the end of round one, it was not enough for him to take a round. Same thing kind of happened round two. I mean, I think Mike did get cut in a round two, in which ZM picked him up, was about to slam him, caught a nasty elbow from Mike Davis while he was up in the air, cut ZM. So these guys traded blood, but ultimately, this fight was pretty much... It's similar to like the Pavlovich fight, Rosenstruck fight, where Ziam just looked a little bit fresher on the feet, and you could see here he had a little over 7 minutes of control time. So he about doubled Mike Davis's strikes, and he was just ending up with more control time. That's what's going to happen when you pull guard, by the way. But nonetheless, in the third round, Mike Davis was pretty gassed. He gave up control time for like 3.5 minutes of the round. It wasn't on his feet much, and kind of just threw in the towel there. So ZM, getting the win. It was a good win for him. I'm curious to see what both these guys do next. I'd like to see Mike Davis fight like Matt Frivola or something like that. As for Fariz Ziam, I have a similar stance as I do with the Dagestani Nurmagomedov fighters. I think that, in addition, there should only be one ranked Dagestani fighter in each weight class. There should also only be one ranked French fighter in each weight class. I don't make the rules. I just wish that I did. With that being said, give Fariziem Benoit Saint Denis next. Take his ranking. There can only be one real Frenchman in the lightweight division, and BSD ain't him. So that was the main card. Pretty good fights. Yeah, they could have been better. I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably give it a 2 out of 5 stars, and that's not terrible. That's just kind of bad. So it was a kind of bad main event. Not that bad, just kind of bad. Especially, we were robbed of Iskram, but not getting too far off. Let's keep this train rolling. Starting with the end of the prelims, working our way to the first fight. We had Naimov and Offley. This was a great fight. I think I had Naimov winning this. You could see here he landed significantly more strikes, kind of did what the pre-fight odds said he was going to do, and pretty much win a unanimous decision. It was a great fight. Shamil Gaziev and is it Thomas Peterson? This was just a cold right hand, I believe it was. Shamil sent up, just kind of right up the middle. Just put it right on Peterson's button, and he went to sleep. There's really nothing else to it than that. Who does Shamil fight next? Give him John Jones. After Derek Lewis gets John Jones. Terrence McKinney did get the only knockout I think that he could have gotten in the lightweight division. I don't know why everybody's so high on this guy's stock. He's a very one-dimensional fighter, I'd say. I mean, I know he tries to grapple sometimes, but his one true talent is just trying to knock people out. And especially in the lightweight division, his grappling, I promise you, doesn't hold up against anybody's in the top 15. Anybody's. So yeah, that's me shitting on Terrence McKinney for getting a victory on Saturday. Good job, buddy. All right. Jasmine Jasudavicius against Mayra Bueno Silva. Jasudavicius won that fight. I think she was the favorite. Yep. She was a pretty sizable favorite pre-fight. We also picked her to win. I know, like the MMA guru and a lot of those other guys that don't really know what they're talking about did go with Bueno Silva. Thankfully, you listen to me and you don't listen to them. We went with Jasudavicius. She just looked better. I knew that the weight cut, not saying that this is what the problem was, but I had the feeling that the weight cut would be a little bit more of a problem mentally than it would be physically for Silva, and I believe that's what it was. Plus, Jasudavicius just looked really too good. She imposed her game plan on Silva and, dominated the fight. You could see the stats here. You see 7 minutes of control time, 164 strikes to Silva's 41. She won all 3 rounds. She looked great. Great job, Jasudavicius. Way to make us North Americans proud. Bogdan Grad gets the knockout over Alexander in the second round. I believe, was this his first fight in the UFC? Okay, it was his first fight contracted in the UFC, so congratulations to Bogdan. This is the guy I told you guys I don't bet against Contender Series fighters most of the time. 9 times out of 10, if it's a Contender Series against a non-Contender Series, I'll probably go with the Contender Series guy. That's why I got fried with Peyton Talbot last week. Nonetheless, I stuck with my strategy and it paid off. Bogdan Grad, first UFC contracted fight, first contracted UFC victory, and it's by TKO via punches in the second. Great win to Bogdan. Welcome to the UFC, man. Excited to see who you fight next. Featherweight? Yeah, I don't even know who. There's so many people they can give him. But I will surely be watching it. And the last fight here, just to clarify, clear up here, break down. Abdel Wahab against Pogues, Jamal Pogues. He got the split decision win. This fight, I would have to rewatch it. I've only watched it once, and it was, the first fight of the day. I was doing other stuff a little bit, okay? I'll admit. But I would like to rewatch this one because I heard it was really controversial with the decision. You could see, even just looking here at the strike breakdown, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'll have to rewatch it. Not even a minute of control time to Abdel Wahab, and he landed less total strikes than Pogues. I'm going to have to just guess that Abdel's shots hurt more. I guess the takedown was crucial. I'd have to rewatch this. But nonetheless, we picked Abdel Wahab to win, and he got the win. So we'll end it there. That's been the UFC Saudi Arabia's Fight Night Breakdown. Oh, what are you doing there? Caught you peeping. What are you doing? If you haven't done so already, please consider liking this video, as it would help me out a ton. A lot more than it would help you out. And consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see a pre and post fight breakdowns and predictions every single week that there's a fight card. And let me tell you something, there are fights every single Saturday for the month of February and March at least, probably all of April. They might give us 1 week off in April for Easter. Maybe. But let's go ahead and get into this bingo card, and then we'll end the video off. If you don't remember, here is what the bingo card looked like at first. It's also on my Twitter. Yeah, and here's what we got. We covered up, if you remember previously, we just had the free space and the space to the right covered up. But Tony Ferguson has left the UFC. He has retired, not necessarily from the sport, but he has left our hearts and our bank accounts alone, as he's no longer in the UFC anymore after his 0-8 nosedive down. So God bless Tony Ferguson. Hopefully he gets to heaven, at least the part of heaven where they let the dogs. And I hope that he's happy. I hope that he gets some of that brain cells back. I hope he gets some brain cells back, and he gets into like woodwork, or he finds a hobby like wood shop, or like maybe he buys a small welder at home, or I don't know, just go and watch the sunsets with Lenny from Of Mice and Men. God bless Tony Ferguson. God damn Dana White for never giving us the Khabib fight. And God bless all of you for watching this week. I will see you back this Friday when I break down UFC 312. Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. I'll see you there. Thank you so much for watching The Fight Guy. Bye-bye.